My nephew is dead. My blood nephew is dead. My blood nephew is dead. You're talking about acting. No, you're acting about my nephew is dead.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 15, Episode 3. And before we get started, let me just let you guys know that I am beyond confused about that last scene between Marlo and Drew. So if you don't mind explaining to me what that was all about in the comments, I would greatly appreciate that. No, I didn't watch Kandi speak on it. I didn't see Marlo's live. I don't plan on watching either. Your girl is out here booked and busy, okay? So I don't really have time to watch all the extras. I'm just reporting to you what I see in these 48 minutes on the show on Sunday nights. But if you wouldn't mind helping a girl out, I would greatly appreciate it because I still don't know what that was all about. She just went from 0 to 100 like that. And I've been saying this. I think that giving Marlo a peach was a mistake. I think that she was better off as a friend of. I don't think that she has the chops to carry on as a full-time cast member. I just don't. I mean, I never was a fan of hers, but for some reason, it seems like she's gotten even nastier being a full-time peach holder. But yeah, come season 16, I definitely do not want to see Marlo Hampton. This can be her last season. I would not be upset if Bravo gives her the pink slip and tells her that her services are no longer needed. Shout out to Shawnee O'Neal. And with all that being said, let's just jump right on into it because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. So we start this episode off with Sheree at home. And I feel like we've started off every episode so far with Sheree. Very surprising. But we started off with Miss Whitfield, and she's having Sonia and Marlo over for a cute little brunch. Now, mind you, we see that Sheree has the chef from the first episode, and I want to know, is that chef getting paid? Because we all know that Miss Sheree does not like paying people or paying her bills. So Lord willing, Sheree is paying this chef. And that chef prepared a very nice spread. She had lobster rolls, French toast, scrambled eggs, champagne, caviar. I was like, okay. Again, I hope Sheree is paying you. But regardless, you know that my mouth was watering. I said, Sheree, I might not be able to stand you, but I would have been able to put up with you for that spread because, again, I was salivating. So Marlo and Sonia arrive, and they're talking about BravoCon. Sonia's like, oh my gosh, it was so epic. I feel like I need another week to just rest. And you guys know that I went to BravoCon. Thank you to DirecTV for having your girl out there. I had the best time. But BravoCon is no joke. And I can only imagine what BravoCon this year is going to entail since it's going to be in Vegas. But I'm excited and I'm ready. So, of course, Marlo brings up the drama that happened, how Momma Joyce was there, and she was talking badly about Todd on one of the panels. So Sheree's like, yeah, it's just so confusing to me because they've been married for so long now, and the fact that Momma Joyce is still saying disparaging things about Todd is really bizarre. Now, you guys know how I feel about Momma Joyce, and I will get to that in just a minute. But it's very sad that Kandi refuses to check her mother about her bad behavior. But again, we'll talk about that more later. Now, Sheree wants to know from Sonia, what was the deal with her and Drew at BravoCon? So Sonia's like, look, you know that me and Drew have been on the outs for a while now. At the reunion, it was tension. But then a few weeks ago, she texted me saying that she wanted to clear the air. So now when we get to BravoCon, it's like she's Drew the actress again. Now, when it comes to Sonia and Drew, I think that it's just such a dumb feud. Also, I think that Sonya is a flip-flopper. I feel like Sonya blows with the wind. So I really don't care too much if Drew does get on her. So now Sheree brings up the issues that she's had with Kenya and how her and Kenya had a showdown the other day, and Sheree says that she stood up for what's right. So Sheree goes on to say that Martell is kind, funny, and sweet, and all that arrogance and cockiness that we see on his show, she doesn't see it in real life. Now, Sheree, you have been on reality TV for over a decade. You know good and damn well that the camera captures pretty much who you are as a person. There's only so much that you can hide. Your real self will eventually come out. For you to be in such denial where you're saying that he's sweet and kind and funny and what you see on TV, it isn't true, is everything all right at home? And then to top it off, the fact that Martell is a serial cheater, he is still blaming his wife for his own actions. He got his mistress pregnant and then left her holding the bag. I don't know how you could even twist your mouth to say that that's a funny, kind, and respectful man. And then you saying, he picked me up from the airport last night. What a gentleman. Like Sheree, just because he's being sweet to you now does not mean that he's a good person. And like I've been saying, stop acting like you're the exception. You're just new. When the newness wears off, he will be dogging you out for the next woman. If he's disrespected every woman before you, please know that you're next. And this is what happens when you are desperate for male attention and validation. You say stupid things like this. This is real pick-me behavior for Sheree at her big age, talking about, well, he's good to me. He picked me up from the airport. And I have never seen somebody take so many L's and still refuse to learn from them. And for the 3 Sheree fans who find their way in my comments getting upset with me, please know that I stand 10 toes down in what I'm saying, and you know that I'm right. You know that your girl is acting delusional about Martell. So let's agree on that. Because like I told you, my opinions aren't changing over here. Sheree looks foolish going this hard over Martell. Period. End of story. This next scene with Drew and Ralph going rock climbing, I'm not going to hold you guys. We can breeze right on through it. I was bored. And then hearing them talk about the music, and I didn't care. And like I said in the last recap, knowing that they're going through a divorce right now as we speak, all the dirty laundry is being aired out, I don't want to hear them pretend like they're in such a great space in their marriage when we know the truth. Time is a precious commodity. I don't have the time to be going over pointless scenes, okay? And I don't want to bore you to tears. So again, we're going to move right on along. Now we jump to the next scene with Kandi. She's at her office. Don Juan is there. They're going over her schedule. And of course, Kandi has 11 things on her to-do list. And we see that she's planning her daughter Blaze's birthday party. Then she had attending Portia and Simon's wedding on there. I said, okay. And then she also had Todd's movie on there as well. Kandi says that she's not trying to be a lead in the movie. She wants to be an EP. She says that she's not trying to hear anybody talking about, well, the reason why she's the lead, because they're married. So she's like, this time I want to be in the background of his movie. I'll support, but I don't want to be in the movie. And I understand that. Now, personally, I feel like Todd has enough money where he can hire a team of experts to work on this movie with him, and he can get a cast and not have Kandi involved. Just my personal opinion. So we see Moneta arrive, and now they're talking about their time in New York. Now remember, last year's BravoCon happened around the same time as the premiere of Kandi's Broadway show, The Piano Lesson, with Samuel L. Jackson. I think, was it Denzel's son also in that as well? And I think Danielle Brooks. But anyway, Kandi's like, last weekend was a whirlwind. our debut of the piano lesson was a hit. Miss Tina, aka Beyonce's mama, was there. Eva was there, so it was lit. So now Don Juan brings up how Momma Joyce was showing out at BravoCon making those nasty comments about Todd. And Kandi says that Todd was really upset because Kayla was the one who saw it and she told him on FaceTime what Momma Joyce said about him. So Kandi goes on to say that it's really upsetting because one day Ace and Blaze will see what their grandma's saying about their dad when they're older. So Kandi goes on to say that regardless of how her mom feels about the marriage, she needs her to respect it. Now, Kandi, I'm going to say this like countless others have said. You need to check your mother. And I really don't like how in the Black community, anytime you voice your opinions, it's looked at as being disrespectful. I don't like that. I have always been pretty outspoken. I never really went by that whole thing of just because you're older, I have to bite my tongue. That's never been me. Take that however you want to take it, but I feel like in order to get respect, you have to give it as well. So I don't like that whole notion of kids can't say anything or stay in a child's place or you can't correct your parents because that's your parent. I don't go by that. Thank God my parents are very sweet and loving, so I never had to deal with any of that. But for people who have parents like Momma Joyce, I feel like you need to open your mouth and say something. Kandi is also an adult. She's a grown-ass woman, and she gives Momma Joyce money. So I feel like Kandi has every right to say, Mom, that's my husband. Please stop. And if you won't stop, then maybe you and I will no longer have a relationship. Momma Joyce would have heard my mouth a long time ago. I would have nipped that in the bud immediately. Absolutely not. You will not disrespect my marriage or my husband. And honestly, I'm always surprised that Kandi and Todd have lasted this long because personally, if my in-laws did not like me and they were making my life hell, I would have been out. I refuse to be in any family where somebody's mama is talking to me crazy. It's not happening. And I'm not going to sit up here and fight with somebody's family and beg for my spouse to stand up for me and put their foot down. But I said, Kandi, until you put your foot down with your mom, she's not going to stop. So all this, she needs to respect my marriage. Well, girl, say something. Now, this next scene had a lot going on, in my opinion. We see Drew and Ralph at home, and they're having Courtney over. Now, when Drew was saying that she's nervous and she wants to make a good impression, I was like, why are you nervous about Courtney coming over? And there's a big part of me that feels like they're all faking for the cameras. I wouldn't be surprised if they knew the whole time that Courtney and Ralph were related. And now, since Courtney wants to be on this show, she probably said, well, let's say that Ralph just found out that we're cousins so that it will give you a storyline and it will give me a way to be on this show. Something about this whole thing, I'm just not buying it. But anyhow, I digress. So as they're waiting for Courtney to arrive, we see that Candiace from Potomac FaceTimes Drew, and she lets her know that she's performing in Atlanta and she wants Drew to perform with her. So you have Drew crying. She's like, oh my gosh, Candiace, like I haven't sang in ages and this is gonna be my comeback moment. But she agrees to sing with Candiace and she's really excited. Now, I was here for this Potomac cameo. I said, okay, I know that's right. Honestly, I would not be mad if Candiace joined the Atlanta Housewives. I would die to see how she would interact with them. So we see Courtney come over and she's brought a guest with her. We find out that her baby daddy Bryce was in Groove Theory, and she says that they were off and on for 20 years. Now, I was thinking, you dated off and on for 20 years? Like, girl, you stayed 19 years too many. I said, that's a mess. That's a lot of time wasted. And I don't care what anybody says. Men know what they want immediately. So if he's stringing you along, talk about some on and off stuff, you need to go.
Oh! Shout out to everybody. I had fun.
I gotta be good.
So here's where I was annoyed with Drew. All of a sudden, Drew FaceTimes Kandi. She's like, hey, I have Courtney here. And Kandi was like, girl, get off my phone with this. You know that I don't like Courtney. And then Drew playing dumb, talk about, oh, I had no idea. I don't want to start any drama. It was like, Drew, there was no reason for that. You could have easily called Kandi after Courtney had left. I hate when the housewives do certain things like that, where it is so obvious that you are doing this to have a moment. But Drew does share that Candiace invited her to sing with her and she wants Kandi to be there. And Candi's like, girl, I'll be there. I can't wait. So now Drew gets off the phone with Kandi and now they all sit down to eat dinner. And of course, the whole argument between Kandi and Courtney gets brought up. You have Courtney trying to downplay what happened. She's like, you know what? It's really not that deep. It was a little situation between me and Kandi. That's it. And I'm like, Courtney, just be honest and say that you started mess for no reason because you wanted to be on camera. Just say it. I think that Courtney is extremely phony and extremely desperate and will do and say anything to secure her place on this show. And it's pathetic to watch. And when Drew invited her to her performance with Candiace, and Courtney said, well, I would love to be there, but I don't want to be there if it makes anybody else feel uncomfortable. And I was like, girl, shut up. You're not going to turn down this invitation. Anything to be seen on camera, so stop. And then they bring up Sanya. Drew says that Sanya flip-flops. And then she also brings up how Sanya unfollowed her on Instagram. Again, when it comes to Drew and Sanya's petty beef, I'm over it. Also, we know how Sanya is. Sanya does not have a mind of her own. She's on this person's side one day, then she's on this person's side the other day. So Drew really can't be surprised because Sanya has shown her true colors since day one. And personally, I've said this several times, I don't think that Sanya is Housewives material. So I feel like that's another reason why I don't have too much patience for Sanya and her BS. That short scene with Marlo and her nephews in the car, we can move right on along because, again, I do not care. I was serious when I said that I will not be recapping or discussing any of Marlo's solo scenes. I have no interest. So it's the night of the performance and we see Drew arrive to the city winery early for rehearsal. So Drew's really nervous, but she's excited. And Candiace is like, girl, there is nothing to be nervous about. You're gonna do just fine. So as the show is about to start, we see everybody arriving. Dr. Heavenly from Married to Medicine is there. Of course, all the other women are showing up one by one. Monyetta, Kandi, Sanya, Kenya. And things get a bit awkward when Marlo shows up. Marlo says hi to everybody. And the way Kenya, Kandi, and Monyetta paid her dust, they gave her the driest hello. They didn't even look at her. I was here for it because there is no way you can think that you're gonna curse me out, call me all sorts of sluts, whores, this, that, and the third, and think that I'm about to talk to you. That's not happening. And one thing about Marlo is she is the definition of wanting to be the villain and the victim at the same time. And it's so mind-boggling that for somebody who says such vile things about people, Marlo really has an issue when people pay her dust. And if you claim to be so big and bad, then you should be okay with people ignoring you. But again, you cannot be nasty to people and then expect for them to be forgiving, loving, and nice to you. That's not how this works. And I don't care what anybody says. I feel like Marlo really does crave Kenya and Candi's validation. And that's the real root as to why she's so nasty when she's around them. Because she low-key wants to be them and be around them, and she can't stand the fact that she feels that way. So that's why she lashes out and has these really crazy outbursts. And I thought Sanya was so annoying when she pointed out how nobody spoke to Marlo. And Monyetta said, look, I'm not fake. I can't talk about you behind your back and then smile in your face, okay? Like, I'm good. And it's like, Sanya, You saw what happened last year. So why all this surprise about, oh, you guys aren't going to speak to her? Like, can you stop? And Sonya, when Marlo turns on you next, I don't want to hear or see any tears. I don't want to hear, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did that. I don't want to see any surprise on your face because everybody warned you. And you've been watching this show for years, like the rest of us, and you know how Marlo is. So unfortunately, Courtney also arrives. I loved how Kandi paid her dust. She gave her a very dry hello, and she's like, I don't like Courtney. Me and her don't have anything to say to each other, and I don't need any new friends. I said, I know that's right. Now, everybody's there except for Sheree. We learned that Sheree was under the weather, and then you have Sheree being shady, talking about, I'm so sad that I couldn't flop it like Drew, but I'm sick. And I said, baby, the only flop you need to be thinking about is that clothing line She by Sheree. Your whole time on this show has been a flop. You're the only housewife to be fired 3 times. And then each time you've come back, you've given us nothing. But yet you want to call somebody else a flop. But we see Candiace performing, and now it's time for Drew to get on the stage and join her. Now, Candiace, I have to ask you a question, because in my mind, if I'm inviting somebody to sing with me, I would expect that I would get at least 3 to 5 minutes to sing. Drew got up there and literally sang for 3 seconds. And she didn't even sing anything. It was a lot of ooh-wees, little bop, 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 and that was it. It was definitely the epitome of a little yin, yin, yin around the house, in the words of Funky Dineva. But I was like, that was it? Everybody else was confused too, like, Drew invited us out for her to sing for 5 seconds? Like, what was that? And you have Sonya being shady, talking about, I was on the track running to get my gold medal longer than Drew was on that stage. I was like, well, damn. Candiace said, at the end of the day, this is still my show, and nobody's going to outshine me.
Learn your place, earn your spot.
So now the show is over, and we see all the women in the wine cellar, and they're just talking and trying to hash out their issues. So Sonya says, Drew, you did a great job tonight, but I do want to address, what was all that mess between you and I at BravoCon? Because I thought that we were cool, but then at BravoCon, you were real shady. In my opinion, I thought that Drew was deflecting. She didn't really answer Sonya's question. All she said was, I thought that we were moving on. Let's just move on. I don't want any drama. Drew, listen, if you felt some sort of way, then just say it with your chest. But you trying to shade her at BravoCon, and then when she brings it up, now you want to say, well, I thought that we were okay. I thought we were moving on. That's real passive aggressive. And Drew is another new housewife that I have always been on the fence about. And if I'm being honest, if she didn't have all this drama with Ralph, she could have been gone a long time ago, because without Ralph serving us her storyline, what else does she bring? If I'm being honest, because she's another one who I'm kind of like, yeah, girl, you could go too. So Drew says that Sonya coming out tonight was an olive branch, and now Sonya's like, look, Drew, let's just hug it out and start over. So now Courtney and Kandi address their issues. Candi's like, well, I heard through the grapevine that you called me ghetto and said that I bring the hood out. So you have Courtney talking about, well, actually, no, because I have no issues with the hood. I was born in the hood, okay?
First off, I was born in the hood.
So then why would you say that?
That's not what I said. I said ghetto people started to come, which was true.
I rolled my eyes so hard. I do not like Courtney at all. And I think that she is so annoying. And I think that her voice, it's very cartoonish. So Courtney goes on to say that all she said was ghetto people started to come out after Kandi was there at that establishment. So Kandi says, look, girl, I have a wide range of friends, And the fact that you're sitting up here looking down on people, that's shameful. So you have Courtney trying to gaslight Kandi. She's like, you sound really triggered right now. You obviously are upset. So Candi's like, it's not about that. It's the fact that you would say that I bring the ghetto out. Then she goes on to say that she brings everybody out. And I said, I know that's right. Courtney, just own up to the fact that you are being messy and rude for no reason. You're arguing with somebody who's been on this show for over 14 years. You're only a friend of that we most likely won't even see at this reunion. So I wouldn't do too much. Courtney is a weirdo. There's no other way to say it, just a flat out weirdo. But then again, why am I surprised? Anybody who's friends with Sheree Whitfield, I can't really expect them to have good sense and not act like an asshole. So I shouldn't be too surprised at how Courtney's acting. But Courtney, for you to own a jewelry line and own your own marketing firm or image consulting firm, you should be embarrassed. So now we see Monyetta and Marlo hashing out their issues. Of course, Marlo's playing dumb. She forgot what she said last season. And Monyetta's like, yeah, I didn't appreciate that statement last year. You saying that now I have a mouth, or now Kandi gave me a voice to speak, like, how dare you? And one thing about Marlo, since Marlo's not witty enough, she loves being smug and condescending in an argument. Because she kept saying, oh, are you done, sweetheart? Oh, are you done? Is that it? Well, you look beautiful, love. And it's like, Marlo, just own what you said and apologize. So now out of nowhere, Drew starts asking Kandi how she's doing. She's asking about the incident that happened at Blaze. We all know what she's referring to. She's talking about the shooting that happened. So Candi's like, well, I can't really talk about it. It's a private matter. And like I said, you can always tell when production has been in somebody's ear because they'll bring up something that had nothing to do with anything. That was very weird of Drew to bring that up out of nowhere, in my opinion. So Marlo's upset that Candi's being tight-lipped. And she's like, see, Kandi never shares anything that goes on in her life. Like, I can't stand it. So Kandi says, okay, Marlo, you want to play this game? Let's talk about how you slashed that woman's face years ago. So Marlo's like, that's the first thing y'all want to bring up every time y'all get mad. That was 23 years ago. And I'm like, Marlo, you always bring other people's stuff up when you're mad at them. So when it's done to you, it's a problem? You can't have it both ways. Also, Marlo, there's a lot about your life that we don't know. You don't disclose a lot. So for you to be upset that, Kandi doesn't share a lot, I'm like, but girl, you don't either. You giving us this phony storyline with you seeing a life coach, I have no interest. Give us something real. We want to know how much that 80-year-old billionaire leave you.
Bling, bling, bling. Bitches is mad.
How do you still have money all these years? Like, tell us that information. But you being all tight-lipped and hush-hush, but trying to air other people out, again, sis, let's not. And this is not to say that Candi's off the hook, because I've gotten on her for the past few seasons about how I'm tired of her same storylines with her and Todd's marriage issues and them building up another restaurant every season. I'm sick of that. I want something new from her too. But let's not act like you're so forthright about your life, because you're not. So we see everybody leaving the City Winery, and now we see 30 minutes after production has wrapped, Marlo and Drew are talking. Again, I need some clarity because I am still confused. I watched this last scene a couple of times, and I am still not clear how this conversation went the way it did. I mean, it went left immediately. But you have Marlo upset with Drew because she said the word incident instead of a shooting. Drew's like, I meant no disrespect at all, because being from Chicago, I've dealt with people dying in my own family due to gun violence, so trust me, I get it. I've experienced it firsthand. So Marlo's like, the fact that Drew's sitting up here acting like she's lost people to shootings and she can't say the word now, like, it's really triggering to me. Like, I've lost people from this. And I'm like, Marlo, your logic is not making any sense. Like, what are you saying?
I've lost a lot of family. I'm from Chicago. And you, out of all people, if you experienced it, why would I make a moment about that?
Drew was trying to act like she lost people to gun violence, and she can't say the word shooting.
There was like an incident.
So Marlo starts screaming about how one of her oldest nephews is now dead due to a shooting, and she's like, he used to work at her restaurant 2 years ago. And I'm thinking again, how did we get here? How? So we see Marlo in her confessional saying that 2 years ago, she had told Kandi what happened via text, and Kandi acted like she didn't care. Then she says that she saw her 2 days later, and she brought it up, and Kandi acted like she didn't even know what she was talking about. So they show the unaired footage.
Kandi to tell her that my nephew who worked for you, he got shot at home by his roommate. I just felt she didn't care. Then when I see her the next day, she pretended like she had no idea what I was talking about. When we left the other night.
Marlo, I have no idea how we went from y'all enjoying a performance at the City Winery to this. So Marlo keeps ranting about how everybody allows Kandi to get away with it, but she won't allow it, and how her blood nephew is dead. So we end the episode with Marlo screaming in Drew's face saying, my nephew is dead. My nephew is dead, bitch.
You're dead, bitch! You what? I'm telling you my nephew's dead. Are you serious? You bitch, go with the cut off the action!
And Drew's like, what just happened? And again, Drew, I'm right there with you because again, I had to replay that last scene back because it was not adding up at all. Like, I still don't understand how we got here. I think that Marlo needs to see somebody immediately, not this fake play stuff with this life coach. Some real deal counseling and therapy 5 days a week for at least 90 minutes because something is terribly wrong. And I'm not saying this to be shady. I'm saying this because I'm concerned. It's not entertaining to watch. It's alarming, it's jarring, and it's scary to watch unhinged behavior and people are just laughing and gobbling this up like it's entertainment, and it's not. Marlo, please see somebody. Go see the lady, please. Do yourself and do us a favor because again, this is not fun to watch. I was in shock, like, what is going on? And I don't want any of you Marlo stans talking about, well, she has childhood trauma. Don't start. Marlo has been using that as a crutch her whole entire life. We would have had a real issue had she screamed in my face, calling me out my name, when I didn't even do anything. We would have had a real problem. They would have had to fire her on the spot because it would have been, oh no, we're not doing this. We're not going another season with Marlo's crazy behavior. Like I stated earlier on, Marlo was better off as a friend of the show. I don't know, for whatever reason, it seems like she is cracking under pressure being a full-time cast member. She's just not giving what the other girl said she was supposed to have gave, in the words of Rolling Ray. Because I'm not amused in the least. But y'all, that was my recap. I hope you all enjoyed, and you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.